My name is Nara, and I worked as a makeup artist. Since I had just graduated from college, it was difficult for me to find work because every position required experience. Following the recommendation of my friends, I went to see the funeral home director and applied for a job here to improve my skills. After talking with my family, my father advised me not to take the job because contacting the dead was not a good thing. I was a little hesitant in my heart, but anyway, the income of the job was quite good and I could comfortably practice on corpses. My workplace was a remote funeral home, and it was my job to make up the dead so they could be properly buried. Due to the specific job that required someone to be on duty 24/7, and I was the only woman here, so my colleagues also worried about me. They did not schedule a night shift for me to work. When I first started working, I was assisted by my colleague, so I gradually became accustomed to the job. Many of my friends began to avoid me during the time, claiming that I was eccentric for taking on the terrifying job. I had gradually gotten used to the type of work for over a year, and I felt like a brave and even strong woman who could do the job even at night. It was a gloomy evening, and when I left work, I usually cleaned my workspace to keep it neat and tidy. I was about to close the door to go home when I was startled by a sudden appearance that nearly made me scream. The girl immediately apologized for startling me. It was a girl around my age. She looked very shy with 2 braids. She wanted to ask me for a favor. When I asked her what she needed help with, she said she needed her makeup done. I was surprised because no one came to the funeral home looking for a makeup artist. So the girl said she was getting married soon and came here to ask for my assistance because she didn't have much money. The girl was also aware that bringing up such an unusual subject was a bit abrupt, and she was embarrassed to say it to me. The girl was dressed in an old outfit. I understood that society still had a lot of difficult people. The girl simply wanted to show her boyfriend how beautiful she was on her wedding day. The girl then smiled happily when she heard that I was willing to assist her and kept saying thank you. Then I took the makeup box and followed the girl to her house. The walk to her house was also difficult. It took more than an hour to get there. When she invited me into the house, she apologized profusely for allowing me to walk so far, but I didn't mind. I started opening the makeup box I had brought and prepared to do the girl's makeup. At the point, the girl introduced herself as Hama. I took out the makeup tools. These were the tools for applying makeup to the dead anyway. I still had to consult Hama before proceeding, and she agreed. I started carefully applying Hama's makeup after seeing what she didn't mind. When I applied makeup, I could see Hama's nervousness and tension on her face. All of a sudden, I noticed a black bruise on her neck. I worked in a funeral home for over a year, so I knew exactly what the scar was. Sweat poured down my forehead. My face was pale. I trembled. My heart panicked, as if it wanted to jump out. When Hama noticed that I had abruptly stopped applying makeup, she inquired me curiously. I quickly adjusted my breathing and emotions. I resisted the fear in my heart and continued to put on Hama's makeup, but my trembling hands revealed my inner fear. Then, because I was too shaky and couldn't make up anymore, I stopped. Hama then showed me the typical black trace of a corpse on her neck and said, "The trace scared you, right?" Then Hama lowered her head, a sad expression on her face, and told me her story. Hama said that she really wanted to marry her boyfriend, but a heartbreaking incident happened. It turned out that Hama had a boyfriend named Sam for over 5 years and was about to tell his family that they were getting married. However, after learning that Hama was an orphan, Sam's parents disagreed. Soon after, Sam decided to break up with Hama. Sam said she could find a new partner, but his parents only had one child, him, so he didn't want to disobey them. Sam decided to leave regardless of how much Hama clung or begged, and Hama desperately fell to the ground, tears falling non-stop. Hama felt as if the entire world had abandoned her, and even the person she loved the most had abandoned her. Hama stood on the cliff, looking at the scenery in the distance, thinking of Sam, tears welling up in her eyes. She had not expected Sam to treat her so cruelly. Hama did not hesitate, but chose to commit suicide by jumping off the cliff. There was no longer a Sam, no longer love, so her life had no meaning. Listening to the end of the story, I thought Hama was so pitiful. My tears fell because of Hama's story and also because of fear. Hama was now enraged. Her eyes were empty and I could see maggots crawling around her eyes. When I saw Hama's situation at that point, I jumped back in fear, leaned against a wall and shivered all over. I closed my eyes and I didn't dare to look at her, but from her voice I could hear her angry mood stemming from her hatred of Sam. All of a sudden, the surroundings became silent. I secretly opened my eyes and kept praying for her to leave quickly. But as soon as I opened my eyes, I regretted it. Hama was standing in front of me. I could even smell the stench coming from her mouth. I wanted to vomit. When I saw Hama's hideous face so close to mine, I stiffened all over. The ghost then asked me to make her beautiful so she could find Sam, but I advised her to let go of everything. When Hama heard my statement, she became enraged and grabbed me by the neck. Hama's hand strangled me tighter and tighter and I felt like I was suffocating. Then she let go of her hand, saying that if I put on good makeup for her, she would spare me. After Hama returned to her original form, I suppressed my fear and began applying Hama's makeup. After putting on the makeup, Hama looked at herself in the mirror and smiled happily. At that moment, I abruptly felt that Hama was really beautiful. Just as I was about to beg Hama to let me go, she blew a cold blast into my face. I fell to the ground and lost consciousness. I didn't know what happened to me after that. When I awoke, it was already morning, so I sat up and looked around, discovering that I had spent the night in the morgue with the body on the bed next to it. I slowly approached and looked at the body bag. My face turned pale immediately, because it was Hama, and her face had been meticulously made up. At the point, I was reminded of what had happened the night before, and the fear in my heart returned. I tried to control my fear and quickly opened the door of the morgue and ran out. As soon as I left the funeral home and returned home, I called the manager to ask permission to stay at home in the day. Just when I was thinking about whether to change jobs or not, the evening news on TV caught my attention. According to the afternoon news, on the day of the wedding, a groom named Sam repeatedly shouted in an insane state, then injured the bride with a bottle of wine, and then jumped to his death. I quickly turned off the TV, which gave me a severe headache, and of course, I knew who had done it. The next day, I decided to quit my job and applied for a position at a bridal makeup shop, hoping that I would never have to go through anything like that again.